The latest Gran Turismo 7 time trial is upon us, and it is what I believe to be the longest time trial Polyphony has ever made, with the fastest time being a 9 minute 32.315 seconds in the Porsche 911 Carrera RS. Gold time to beat is a 9 minute 49.484, and to get bronze you can be almost an entire minute slower, so let's jump into it and put in a baseline lap. The first lap is always about learning how the car handles. Being my first lap as expected, there are going to be mistakes that can be learned upon for future laps. The best thing I learned is how you definitely should not just send the car over a blind corner on your first attempt. Even though this invalidates this lap, I decided to keep going, just to put a full lap down. The world record lap has just been completed, and we still have this distance left to cross. We end up with an invalid 9 minute 51.771, which is only 2 seconds slower than the gold lap time. The goal this time is to try and get a full proper lap down. Something that I will come to find out soon are these orange barriers. If you graze them even slightly, they will invalidate your lap. I slow down for this blind corner, taking a much safer line on the inside, unlike my first attempt. This attempt doesn't have much else in it, but getting to the same point as last time, I'm around 6 seconds up from last lap, and I cross the finish with a 9 minute 45.882, which is more than enough for the gold requirement. This puts me 2.37% of the fastest time and 1082nd in the world. It's at this point I decide to give myself a challenge, to try and get within 2% of the top time. I then have a string of attempts where I can't even get through the short circuit. Now that I've completed a full lap, I get access to my fastest ghost lap. I get ahead of my ghost early, and then I lose a lot of time through the chicane by taking too much speed. I fell ahead of my ghost by quite a lot before I get my line wrong here. Coming down to the line, I'm able to extend my lead, and I cross the line with a 9 minute 44.392, and about 1.5 seconds faster than last lap. I keep going into lap 2, using the delta time difference to see where I'm gaining and losing. I take the chicane a lot better this time, going 0.6 of a second up. On the straight, I'm about a second up, but I mess up my corner badly. To add on to this, I take the next 2 corners really poor and lose my advantage. This shows me how easy it is to mess up a good run, even just for a couple of corners. I'm able to make it ahead again, but I take this corner too fast, causing me to hit the barrier and invalidate this lap, which is really unfortunate. I keep going because I'm really close to the finish. I turn into this corner too early, and I invalidate the lap before I even get to the end of the GP circuit, where I restart again. Attempt 9 doesn't even make it to the start of the lap. Attempt 10 doesn't go much better. I put together a lap I've been waiting for, ending up being a 9 minute 43.618, but I still feel like there's more time to save, so I go again. Annoyingly, I invalidate the next lap on the first corner, meaning I have to restart. The orange pole that I mentioned earlier ruins run 13, but I was so far behind, it doesn't matter anyway. On this attempt at the end of the Nürburgring GP, I'm around half a second down, but I decide to keep going, to see if I can learn anything new. I started to notice how the car felt like it had a lot of understeer, almost like it was four-wheel drive. I go really deep into the hairpin, putting way too much power through the corner. I start pushing harder through the second half of the track, trying to carry more speed and be more aggressive to get ahead. I gain a lot on my ghost after the technical section after the carousel, but I get a poor run after the jump and drop back. I push through the next couple of corners leading to the mini carousel, and I get a really good exit out of the carousel, carrying the speed all the way to the Dottinger Hoe. The ghost lap catches up on the last corner, but because I set my ghost ahead by 0.2 of a second, it ends up being an improvement. I get on the power too hard through the second corner, invalidating yet another attempt. My 16th attempt starts out really well. Even with a bad line, I can still get a really good exit out of turn 1 if I apply the throttle at the right time. I find a few areas to learn new things. Using third gear on turn 4 can give you a much faster exit rather than using second gear, and as the straight after is quite long, you can use the extra speed down to the hairpin. This is one of the areas where the understeer really shows. Getting on the power too early causes the car to just go straight, which forces you to let off the throttle, losing speed. And even worse, it's about 15 straight seconds of full throttle and a large hill, so a poor exit on the hairpin can easily lose a lot of time. Just look how much my ghost pulls ahead before the next corner. Something interesting about this car is that you can actually go quite deep into a corner and actually end up faster. Look how much I gain on the entry and lose so little on the exit. I end up getting my best line yet on this corner. Because this car only has 200 horsepower, the exit speed is so important, especially when there's a long straight after. Over the course of the straight, I'm basically level with my Ghost. Unfortunately, I hesitate coming into the chicane, completely missing my apex, but I get a really good exit through the second corner and end up ahead of my Ghost, but sadly, yep, I get on the power too early on the change to the Nordschleifer and graze the wall, which invalidates a really good attempt. After 17 attempts, this was my best lap and I'll take you through it. Brake it around the 150 board for turn 1, try not to cut it, otherwise you'll invalidate the lap. Cut back for turn 2, getting as close to the barrier as you can, and getting the power down only when you're in the line to not come off the track. Brake late into turn 3 and keep it narrow to line yourself up for turn 4. Keeping it in third gear to maximise traction. You can also use the green on the outside of the curb for more speed. I found that going deep into turn 5 helps as you can drive the car with full power and you can make use of the slow gears to better align yourself. The gear change just before turn 6 and 7 is a bit strange to get right. You can either keep it in third gear halfway up the hill, which is faster, but you'll lose time on the second half of the hill, and shifting early gives you a slower start but more speed when you reach the first corner. I found the sweet spot, which is just around after the red 3. This gave me the acceleration of third gear without sacrificing too much speed up the hill. Brake just before the 100 meter board for turn 8. And brake only a little for turn 9, and almost throw the car in, maximising the track limit on the exit. Get as close as possible to the orange poles on the chicane, and don't use the curb on the exit. Move to the right to give yourself a better entry for the change onto the Nordschleifer. Keep in mind it is very uneven, so keeping it in third gear helps with traction. You can use the pit exit on the Nordschleifer to give yourself more area to turn. Exiting in third gear allows you to avoid the slow gear change. Keep it flat through turn 14, and then brake hard into turn 15 and 16, treating them as two separate corners instead of braking for both and run wide into the next sequence of corners. Keep it narrow through these 3 corners, minimise the distance by using the curb on the exit. Use a small amount of curb for turn 20 so that you don't unsettle the car, and keep it flat through turn 21. You want to drop the power to about halfway through the long right-hander to come down to the long straight. Come off the accelerator with little to no brakes and keep it narrow. The change from uphill to downhill will lose control of the car if you don't slow down. Heavily brake in a straight line and keep it narrow in third gear using the curb on the exit. Cut this uphill left with 2 wheels, then heavily brake. It doesn't matter if you drop the gear or not. I personally prefer dropping 1 gear and then dropping a second when I brake for the second corner. Don't cut the curb. Because it is so high, it can easily unsettle the car, but if you can cut it just a little bit, you can use the curb on the outside to get a straighter line. Brake a minimal amount for the fast left, and brake heavy for the tight left, avoiding the curbs. Brake just after you drop down and turn in, aiming for a late apex. Take the left flat out, and brake for the long triple right corner. Brake for the hairpin, taking a late apex to maximise speed coming out in second gear. Brake for the left and aim for just after the curb. Try to carry as much speed as you can up the hill. Due to the steep elevation change, it is easy to run wide into the barrier. Brake just after this blue spot on the road, keeping wide and come in for a very late apex. Drop the speed slightly for the fast left. You can't take this flat out, but the next corner you can. Coming up to the carousel, brake just before the curb starts and keep it in the middle to get a good exit. Coming into the carousel, brake later than you think you can. The banking will keep you in, and ride it until you have a straight line to the curb, aiming to go over it. While it is very difficult to see as you only have a small part of the curb to aim for. Keep it flat out up the hill, brake slightly at the curb and keep the speed through the next corner, making use of the curb on the outside. Turn it in and try to avoid the curb. Going over it will unsettle the car. Going into the most technical section, keep it flat through the first right, brake for the left and hit the curb on the right. Going over the hill, keep it on the right and brake for the left and keep it narrow. Brake near the end of the curb on the left and make use of the large curb on the left, setting yourself up for the uphill right, braking just before the end of the curb and then powering out the corner halfway through the curb. Brake and keep it narrow for the left. It is easy to run wide as it brakes left after the corner. Approaching the jump, brake just before it and it is important to keep it narrow. Going wide will give you a poor exit for the next corner and you won't be able to take it flat out. Down the hill, the car may lose grip at the front, so keep it pointed left and avoid the curbs on the run to the mini carousel. Brake late and try to keep it to the right and use the curb on the outside to give yourself a better exit. Make sure you enter the mini carousel low to avoid the curb if possible. Coming towards the Dossinger hoe, lift off the power to get the weight change to the front. One thing to note on the straight, you should gear change early, at about the 4th gear number, so you can get the most amount of speed. You can also do this when switching from 3rd to 4th gear, as well as for long straights, as avoiding unnecessary gear changes is quite important for an old car like this. Dropping down and coming up to the final corner, drop the accelerator to gently slow the car, and then brake hard, aiming to stay on the white line and turn in to try and keep 2 wheels on the curb and 2 wheels on the track to give yourself the best exit to the line. I ended up getting a 9 minute 42.459, exactly 1 second and 1 millisecond faster than my best, which was more than enough for me. I was able to complete my challenge of getting within 2% of the top time and becoming 301st in the world. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be doing Sonic Generations without picking up any rings next. And if any of you have watched my first video, then I'm actually going to wait to live stream Undertale and Deltarune. I think I just want to wait a little bit longer. As always, comment what you think I can improve upon, and I hope to see you again soon.